Thread life cycle. In our previous chapters, we have seen how a thread goes through different states and it will be only be working in one of the states. Now let us have a look to about the life cycle of a thread. Now the start method creates the system resources necessary to run the thread, seduce the thread to run and calls the thread's run method. A thread becomes not runnable when one of these occurs. If sleep method is invoked, the thread calls the wait method. The thread is blocking on into input and output. A thread dies naturally when the run method exists. Below diagram clearly depicts the various phases of thread life cycle in Java. In this diagram, which we can see over here, we have different. First we have start. After start, it is going to the phase of ready to run phase. From the ready to run phase, it can directly move to dead phase or dead end. Now, there are different other processes which are being followed, just like running. From thread process, it is observed to be going chosen by the scheduler and then it goes to the running state. From the run state, it either goes to the sleeping phase, block state or done phase. After completing the process, it goes to the dead end. Now from running state, it can also move to the waiting state or wait for a time. Now these are the 6 to 7 phases or states which a thread goes through. Any thread, whichever is working, will be in one of those threads, and it is compulsory for any thread to have in one of the states. Now talking about scheduling of thread, execution of multiple threads on a single CPU in some order is called scheduling. In general, the runnable thread with the highest priority is active. Java is priority primitive. If a high priority thread wakes up and a low priority thread is running, then the high priority threads get to run immediately, allows on demand processing. Efficient use of CPU. Talking about different scheduling, let us discuss types of scheduling. Waiting and notifying. Waiting, that is wait method, and notifying, that is notify and notify all. These are the functions predefined for thread. Provides means of communication between threads that synchronize on the same object. Wait. When wait method is invoked on an object, the thread executing that code gives up its lock on the object immediately and moves the thread to the wait state. Notify. The wakes up thread that called wait on the same object and moves the thread to the ready state. Notify all. This wakes up all the threads that called wait on the same object. Running and yielding. Yield. Yield is used to give the other threads of the same priority to chance priority, a chance to execute. That is, causes current running thread to move to runnable state. Sleeping and waking up. Sleep is used to pause a thread for a specified period of time. That is, moves the current running thread to sleep state for a specified amount of time. Before moving it to runnable state, thread.sleep number of milliseconds. Thread.sleep, in the bracket we give the number of milliseconds the thread has to wait or to sleep. Thread priority. Now talking about the thread priority, when a thread, Java thread is created, it inherits its priority from thread that created it. One can notify a thread's priority at any time after its creation using the set priority method. Thread prioritize are integers ranging between minimum priority and maximum priority. The higher the integer, the higher the priority. Normally, the thread priority will be 5. Now, isAlive and join methods. These are the two methods which are used with threads. Talking about isAlive method is used to determine if a thread is still alive. It is the best way to determine if a thread has been started but has not yet completed its run method. Final boolean is alive. The non-static join method of class threads lets one thread join into the end of another thread. This method waits until the method on which it is called terminates final void join. Blocking threads. When reading from a stream, if input is not available, the thread will block. Thread is suspended, blocked until input-output is available. Allows other threads to automatically activate. When input-output available, thread wakes back up again. Becomes runnable. The thread gets into running state. We can also group of threads. We can also group the threads. Now talking about the grouping of threads, thread groups provide a mechanism for collecting multiple threads into a single object and manipulating those threads all at once rather than individually. To put a new thread in a thread group, the group must be explicitly specified when the thread is created. Public thread, thread group, runnable. Public thread, thread group, string name. Public thread, thread group, runnable, string name. A thread cannot be moved to a new group after the thread has been created. When a Java application first starts up, the Java runtime system creates a thread group named main. Java thread groups are implemented by java.lang .thread group class. So this is all about life cycle of a thread. Talking about thread, thread is the simplest or singlest unit of a process. There can be more than one thread in a program. A specified task is performed or allotted in a thread, which is done. In our next chapters, we are going to have a look to the daemon process.